Volleyball is all about the legs. That's clear to anyone who has ever touched a ball. But today we'll take a different look at them. What are they doing in those moments when it seems like nothing is happening? How do the legs quietly manage balance, readiness, and the silent willingness to move at any moment? We start on offense after the opponent's serve, and the first in line is serve reception. We've talked about passing many times before, but now we're mainly interested in locomotion, the movement of the feet before and after the action. How does the player prepare their body? Where and when do the feet land? How does the center of gravity settle so the hands can work calmly? Because without this prologue, even the best technical sentence can easily stumble. Let's take a look at what the feet are in charge of just before the reception.
For example, when receiving a hard jump serve in men's volleyball, it's typical for the entire formation to take a step forward, right before the well-known split step. Then comes the actual reception, and after that, roles divide. The outside hitter makes themselves available for the attack, while the libero gets ready to cover. But problems can occur. If the movements aren't synchronized or if one player misinterprets another's movement, a small misunderstanding can lead to big consequences. Everything happens in tiny fractions of a second, in footwork or its mere hints.
For Czech national team libero Milan Moník, everything works like Swiss clockwork. Step forward, split step, clean reception, and immediately afterward, according to his role, he covers the attack of his teammates.
And now the setters. Their locomotion, the footwork before the actual set, has 3 clear phases. The first is running in from their designated zone to the expected action point. Already during the movement, the setter turns to face their teammates to read the game from all sides and be ready to react to whatever the play, and specifically the reception, requires.
The second phase begins the moment reality shows that the ideal spot at the net is more textbook than practical. Did the passer not deliver the ball perfectly? Nothing to do about it. You have to be used to that as a setter. Now comes the lightning quick move to where the ball is actually going. The start must be explosive, eyes locked on the trajectory, path as short as possible, no waiting. Often you'll need to push off from one foot.
And the third phase? The delicate work of a watchmaker. Small correction steps and body control. Stop the movement, align the axis, settle the shoulders. Only then, once the setter is no longer dealing with their own movement, comes the split second to make the right decision and execute it.
And now, how do we bring all this into training? For children, the hardest part at first is mastering 2 seemingly small things: getting to the ball on time and calming the last steps. We start with something very simple: catching the ball in the right spot even without a net. Run out, adjust your stride, shorten the last step, stop catch, rhythm, accuracy, calm at the finish. Isn't it this very simplicity that lays the solid foundation for everything that follows? And then it begins, the never-ending fine-tuning of setter locomotion. Why so much attention? Because setters are the drivers of performance. Just as we carefully taught them the technique of hand setting so that tactics wouldn't later fail because of technical mistakes, we must give the same care to their feet. What good is a clever idea if the body isn't ready? Like here, where the body is flying toward the ball and there's no way to get into a stable position.
And let's say it once more, loudly. If a setter is to deceive and confuse the opponent, they must not still be adjusting their movement at the last second. Movement has to be settled before the set. Small steps, fine-tuning, stop. And only then, from a still body, the ball flies exactly where the setter wants, and often, unexpectedly. The spectator only sees the result, the accurate or inaccurate set meant to feed the hitter. What came before? Small steps, alignment of the body axis, stopping. That's easy to miss for the untrained eye, but we coaches cannot afford that luxury.
And the same goes today for libero sets. On the court, they are the second setters. They aren't just defensive specialists, but directors of alternative solutions. If the team is to survive a poor reception and remain unpredictable, even the libero must have setter's feet and setter's head. A powerful spike, everyone sees. But the subtle footwork before it stays anonymous. Yet where do height and timing come from, if not from those inconspicuous steps? A player is ready to jump into a quick attack at one point, but depending on how the rally develops, that point shifts. Micro steps, quick corrections, half-foot shifts. Once again, that patient, meticulous work of the feet. Anonymous footwork? What do I mean? For example, offering yourself for an attack. A middle blocker runs in full speed and jumps, but the ball goes left, to someone else who gets the applause. A wasted action? Not at all. That run drew the block and opened the space for the team's success.
And that's volleyball all the time. 4 Americans run in. 3 won't get the ball. Only 1 does. And yet, it's a key collective action. Without those invisible movements, no play would have the same final effect. And look, our old acquaintance George Grozer. Even his approach is part of our topic. How much ground must he cover before he gets into the perfect attacking position? The geometry of steps, economical trajectory, and precise timing before the arm takes over. And the same applies to a player preparing for the so-called slide attack.
And finally, one of the key topics in volleyball attack, to which we'll soon dedicate an entire episode, the transition of a player after their own serve reception into their attack approach position. In other words, how do you get to where the attack actually begins after passing the ball?
In training, we often fall into the model, receive, run out left of the court, and then start the approach. In a match, that can happen, but by no means always. The passer may find themselves in the middle of the court and simply won't have time to run out. What then? Choose the shortest path. Run diagonally from right to left, and only at the end turn the body to the left side toward the net. The key is not to waste time.
And once again the question, how do we bring this into children's training? Because the period up to age 13 is the golden age of motor skills, why not include the development of attacking locomotion already at 12? Yes, it's a bit of a greenhouse drill, but it lays a solid foundation of footwork for the future, so kids master the rhythm and trajectory of the approach before those situations come for real. And now one step higher out of the greenhouse. You see that we deliberately prepare children for different types of movement, exactly as we just described. It seems the kids are ready to handle such situations in real play, whether their role is hitter or blocker. And that's all for today. Take care and play volleyball.